Well, this is it be an interesting video for some of you that know about this game, but I'm doing a specific video on a particular race. And as some people, as you see by the name of the title, why I like high elves. Now they're not the only ones. I like pretty much all the races, but I figure since I don't know, they're kind of a subjective race. Everybody has their own opinions of all the races in the game, but I like each of them for their own. So I figured, you know what? Why not start with the most controversial race in Elder Scrolls, at least in this game with Skyrim? You guys know. So, what do I like about this particular race, though, when it comes to the High Elves? I don't know. Uh, you know, I think the fact that they're very tall, they've always been that way since I first played Morrowind way years ago, which was my first Elder Scrolls game, coming into it. I was young back then, 9, so I didn't know what I was doing when I was playing the game, so you know how that is. I think the other thing that stands out to me mostly is their features, the way that I don't know if you guys know about the Selban elves in D&D lore. I think that's the idea of what they're supposed to be based on. Some people would say the wood elves are kind of that. I'd say they're both a mix of the two. But that's kind of what I think of them. You know, obviously you have the Thalmor in this game here. They're kind of like the antagonists of or sort of a behind the scenes, enemy in this game right now in Skyrim. Who knows? They might be the main antagonist by the time, Elder Scrolls 6 rolls around. You never know. But the common misconception is that all elves are in alignment with the Thalmor. This is not actually so. What we learn about this particular race is that, they dress in a very elegant sort of way. Some people would say they're kind of fashion minded. They tend to like very fancy sort of clothing. If you guys know about the one NPC in Solitude, I forget her name sometimes. The one that has a little quest where you go in front of the Jarl and present a particular outfit to get her to look at their clothing store. She's actually a nice lady, but everybody thinks that she's mean when she talks to you. She's not actually. She's not actually making fun. That's just the way that her personality is. She just likes nice things. So when she looked at you, she thought maybe you could use a change of clothing or something like that. I don't know. But I play as when I play as a high elf. Usually it comes down to mostly with magic. That's usually the thing behind them. But you could role play as these types at any type. One interesting thing, I think, by playing as one in this game, in Skyrim especially, people don't know how to react to you, especially when you're this type of elf. Of all the elves in Elder Scrolls, especially in Skyrim, playing a high elf, I would say, is probably the most unique experience in this particular game. There's different ways you can go with it, of course. you know, so you get different looks and try to go with something. As you can see, I mostly use the vanilla stuff. Yeah, I don't really deviate too much with the elves. Some mods will change them. I'm not really for that sort of thing. But that's the thing about it. It's because for my thing is I like to keep the elves looking like the way that they do. I know some people like to change them up a little bit to make them look a little bit less old and that sort of thing. I get it. you know. But the elves typically are supposed to have a certain distinct kind of feature set. So when you think of elves, they're not exactly supposed to look human after all. So there's supposed to be something about them that kind of deviates them a little bit from their human counterparts. You know, uh, the only thing that some people question is that Bethesda could do a better job at I don't know. Okay, if you have the high elves, especially with the Thalmor, who think that they are higher than everybody, you would think that their looks would kind of match. That's not necessarily the way that people are. You'd be surprised that people can be very boastful, just like in real life, right? If you Just because some people can have a very pride sort of, I don't know, mindset, that doesn't necessarily mean they could be attractive. You see what I'm getting at? I don't think it has really anything to do with that. Uh, you know, uh, the one thing about this game, though, you still get all your usual abilities playing as a high elf. Most of them. So the one negative about this game is that you don't have the weaknesses like you used to have in Morrowind and Oblivion. Now, if you'll notice, there's my name at the top. If you notice, I have a space between it. That's because I named this character Pashua. So the way it's actually spells is the way you see it on the left. So it's a together word, but I try to give her a name that, regular humans wouldn't be able to pronounce correctly. But for you guys, I'm just showing you how you would actually say the name. So this character's name that I gave her is Pashua. That's how you say the name. Don't think of anything. It's just a random name that I just kind of gave her. But it was just something I just thought of off the top of my head. You wouldn't think of for any kind of human, right? But it works in this case for, I don't know, some kind of elven character. I don't know. I wanted to give her something that you wouldn't normally think of for a human name. So, but something that could kind of fit for a female, I guess. I try to think of different names, stuff like that. Uh, the only thing in this game, some people say that playing as an Altmer, like you don't get most of the strengths that usually come with them. Well, no, I mean you get in this game. I would say in Skyrim, you get what is called highborn. So usually, if you hit your highborn, basically in this game, it gives you like a constant regeneration of magic kind of thing, but it also boosts your magic at the same time. But it can only it's basically a spell that you could use like once a day with them kind of thing. Uh, some people feel that in this game it's a little bit weak compared to like older ones. Well, in older games, I can't remember what you had in some of the older ones since you went by a sign. So depending on in Oblivion, for example, you could have different abilities depending on what side you pick. But in terms of weaknesses, in Oblivion, it was like they had a weakness to like fire and certain types of elemental attacks by 20% or 25% or whatever it is. But if you knew what you were doing, you could offset that by, choosing a sign that could kind of thwart those ideas. I can't remember the reason for it, but I think the reason behind it in the older games is to have something to kind of balance out to make it seem like that the elves are not too overpowered because you have to figure they were already strong from the get go. If you played as any one of these high elves in the older games, a lot of people will tell you how strong they actually are in terms of magic output. So it because they have a certain type of vulnerability to certain spells, most people kind of look at that as kind of a fair sort of trade off to where okay, because just imagine if they didn't have any kind of weaknesses, you'd have most people would have very little chance of getting through most of the high elves kind of magic onslaught. So you have to have something to where people can get some kind of an advantage here or there, right? That's just the way that they do all the races in the past. There was always at least a strength about every race, but there was usually about one a few weaknesses as well. And this was basically done to kind of balance out a certain type of aspects to where you didn't get too much of an advantage over enemies in the game, but they wouldn't also have too much of an advantage over you either. So I think that was the idea behind it. That's my thought anyway. But I don't know. I just find them really interesting. People will have a lot to say in this game, especially because when you start getting the Civil War thing started, You'll notice that even on both sides, Nords in general, especially in this game, will have things to say about you, even if they support the Imperials. Yeah, you'd be surprised. It's not just the Stormcloaks that you'll get racist remarks from sometimes. Sometimes you'll hear certain dialogue from even those that support the Empire. So it's not this one sided thing that you might think. Uh, that's because they don't really know if you're with the Thalmor or not, but they notice that you are an elf, so that's usually what it is. Look at me over here just tagging this guy. I'm sorry, but this guy just kind of had it coming. I don't know why. Every time I come in here with this guy, he's just kind of an arrogant little prick. So I just find getting rid of him is just a better route to go. I don't know. How many of you guys did not kill this guy just because if you could? Now, obviously, if you come the other way, you could just do this without actually. If you go with Ralof instead of coming in here like I did with Hadvar, you could just pretty much take him out. But that's not really that much of a problem. But, you know, I just did it. I do it anyway, just because I just can't stand him, and he's not really anybody all that important anyway. He don't factor into anything, and the fact Rayloff does nothing while you go over and just basically just kill this guy, that says a lot about that, doesn't it? Well, he did say, "Hey, well, I didn't care about no dragon. You warned me. Okay, well, there's nothing over that way." And he basically just kind of plays it off like, okay, nothing's really going on. Well, since you're the one not being all that serious and you think I won't get out, I'll just kill you anyway, just for the hell of it, just because you won't factor into anything. So, some of y'all probably got a kick out of that. But what do you guys think of them? What are the things you like about High Elves? Have you played as one? Things like that. They do offer a unique experience. I will say that much. Even if you have a particular favorite race in the game, all the races have something about them that makes them all kind of stand out in their own kind of way. Um, In this game, one of the nice things about playing a high elf is their mix of fury, illusion type magic, a little bit of destruction, and healing magic at the same time. So the fact you already get illusion spells from the start, you don't actually have to worry about buying them later, which is kind of nice. And you can actually build it early as opposed to like now if you go with a dark elf, let's say you start with them, you do get both lightning and fire, so that's kind of nice to have. So it kind of throws the other book that you find more as a selling item, unless you give it to one of your followers or companions later in the game. But most of them come with their own abilities too. So usually any books I find that I already have a spell for, I usually just kind of sell it or give it to someone I might think that might use it. Some of them do. Some of them don't, though. Just depends on what the follower you have is. So, other than that, that's pretty much all I have for this video. So, yeah, pretty interesting discussion, guys. So, I don't have anything else to add for it. So, leave your thoughts in the comments, and hopefully another time I'll get back to you. So, take care.